Right, before we continue discussing that, breaking news we're getting now that Bradley Manning is sentenced to 35 years in jail. This is the latest. Well, here's the verdict.
Yeah,
we should also keep in mind that he was credited, we're hearing, for about 1,294 days that he had already spent in confinement. That perhaps explains a little bit of the lower sentence that we received.
Yes.
The prosecutors had asked for 60 years. This is after it was taken down from 90 from 136. So lower than they were asking, but still definitely a lengthy sentence.
Okay, so
yes, absolutely.
Life,
yeah,
not life in prison. And right now you can give us the details of the sentence, and
I think we're going to Guyane.
And we can go live to Washington, D.C., and artist Gaynet Chitrikan is joining us now live. Gaynet, can you hear us?
Yes, I can, Yulia.
Okay,
Hi.
good. So, hi there. So can you give us the details of this sentence and what's going on in court right now?
Well, Yulia, 35 years in jail. That's what Bradley Manning was sentenced to. Prosecution was asking for 60 years. The maximum sentence under the charges that he was convicted of was 90 years in jail. The sentence Manning has received will be reduced by more than 3 years because of the time that he has already spent in custody since his arrest in May 2010. A further 112 days will be deducted as part of a pretrial ruling in which the judge compensated Manning for the excessively harsh treatment that he endured during his detention, including long stretches of solitary confinement, sleep deprivation, and forced nudity, a treatment that the UN Special Rapporteur on Torture has condemned. The Manning prosecution was in many ways a show trial and part of a wider effort by the Obama administration to discourage officials from passing information to journalists. And nobody expected much leniency in his sentencing. So to many of his supporters, it's good news that Bradley Manning is not going to spend the rest of his life in prison. Prosecution has failed to prove that any harm was actually done to those who've been named in Manning's releases, and also the judge limited the admissibility of evidence regarding the so-called chilling effect Manning's actions had on U.S. diplomacy, and possibly the apology that Bradley Manning has recently made may have also affected the judge's decision. But 6 months ago, when Manning admitted to leaking most of the classified material, he offered more of a defense of his actions rather than an apology. He spoke of his shock at what he called was the delightful bloodlust displayed by U.S. military personnel in a video of a 2007 helicopter attack that killed a dozen people, including journalists. And at that time, he told the judge he believed that releasing classified material to stimulate a debate about wars in Iraq and Afghanistan was, quote, the right thing to do. And Manning was convicted of passing over around 700,000 documents to anti-secrecy website Wikileaks, and he was found guilty of 20 counts, several under the Espionage Act, and but he was acquitted of the most serious charge of aiding the enemy.
Gaynet, what's likely to be the public reaction to this sentence?
Well, many people support Bradley Manning. I don't know. A lot of his supporters would say that anything, short of 20 years in prison would be good news for them because, I mean, everybody understands that this has been a show trial, and many people support Bradley Manning because they support the public's right to know, and they don't necessarily support the fact that he broke the law, but they realize that there are things that would have never been exposed, debated, had it not been for Bradley Manning. Now, generally speaking, Americans don't care that much when it's about their government's wrongdoings abroad. They care a bit more about domestic policies, and maybe that's why Bradley Manning support in opinion polls is not the majority of Americans, definitely. But Bradley Manning may have actually gained more support in the wake of Edward Snowden's revelations. Snowden showed that Manning is not the only one. I mean, Snowden being the second probably most famous leaker of our generation. He showed that Manning is not the only one willing to sacrifice his career, his lifestyle, his freedom to start a debate on issues that matter. The government would be happy to sweep most of those issues under the rug. U.S. troops may have never left Iraq had the Iraqi government granted them immunity from prosecution, something that the Obama administration was trying to negotiate around the same time when Bradley Manning leaked all of those documents. President Obama would not have announced the review of NSA surveillance programs if it weren't for Edward Snowden. Whether or not that review is just a symbolic gesture is yes.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much for bringing us up to date. And right now we're now joined live by leader of Pirate Party UK, Loz Kay. Loz, thank you very much for being with us this hour. What message does the pursuit of Manning send to whistleblowers in the US? What do you think?
Well, this sentence, it was something of a foregone conclusion. But let's face it, this is decades in prison. Bradley Manning is facing decades in prison. This is a devastating blow for him, of course, and of course all of us who've supported the work of whistleblowers and supported the importance of actually protecting the work of whistleblowers. Let's not forget that that was the reason why Bradley Manning did what he did. He was very clear about it. It was about holding power to account. This is an attempt to actually put a chilling effect on the work of journalists and to intimidate sources. But nevertheless, I think what we've seen recently is that actually people are not willing to be intimidated.
Manning isn't the first US whistleblower, of course, but the first one to get such harsh sentence. Why do you think?
Well, I think it's absolutely about sending out a message. It's what we've seen, and I think Amnesty International were absolutely right when they said that the United States has their priorities upside down with the conviction of Bradley Manning. That we can see that they're willing to subject us all to mass surveillance, but when it comes down to actually us trying to hold them to account, they actually try to squeeze out the people that will hold power to account. We have to ask ourselves, what kind of world is it that we are making now that we are actually willing to put people who expose war crimes in prison for longer than those who commit them?
Bradley Manning, Edward Snowden and recent events with the Guardian newspaper being targeted for its coverage of surveillance. Should there be concern about a wider war on free speech? What do you think?
Yes, absolutely. We can see that there is whistleblowers have been collateral damage in the attempt to actually close down information. But there's something altogether more malign going on now. We can see with, for example, in the way that the United Kingdom held David Miranda here, and actually the destruction of the hard drives in the Guardian newspaper. There is a real attempt to try and block out these vital stories, whether it's about mass surveillance or whether it's about war crimes that we are responsible for.
Loz Kay, thank you very much indeed for joining us here at RT. And